In any case, I would like to present you with my point of view of what mind mapping is and how you can use it as a developer. By the way, I would like to know, are there many developers here? Okay, good enough. I'm not a developer by profession. I did a lot of different kind of jobs, and my occupation sometimes was involving some development, but I'm not professional development. So if I make some mistakes as a developer jargon or subject, I hope you will forgive me. Before we proceed to the discussion of the mind mapping, I would like to provide you with an overview of what we're going to be discussing today. In the beginning, in the introduction, I would like to present you with a short quiz so that you can have an idea if mind mapping is for you. After that, we are going to talk about the author of the modern method of mind mapping, Tony Buzan. And at the end of the introduction, we are going to talk a bit about the benefits of mind mapping. After that, we are going to switch to the structure and elements of a mind map. That is a very important part for understanding. We'll continue with the mind maps for everyday use. Doesn't matter if you're a developer or not, you will still benefit from mind maps. And the last part would be my attempt to show some use for mind maps for developers. Why am I saying that? Because according to the statistics, mind mapping is used mostly by creative types, people who design, who market, who write, who present. Developers most of the time have their own graphical tools like UML, diagrams and stuff like that. So not everyone understands or knows the value of mind maps for development, so I'm going to touch that subject. In conclusion, I will present a summary of this presentation, provide you with some resources like books, links, and software that you might potentially want to use. As I promised, this is the quiz. Please ask yourself the following questions. I will make a short pause after each question so you can think about it. Do I brainstorm? Do I normally tend to plan my activities? Do I create lists or checklists in order not to miss anything? Am I mainly a visual person, or working with text only is completely fine with me? Depending how you answered these questions, mind mapping might be or might not be for you. But of course, I would like to ask you not to jump to conclusions right now and go through this presentation, and by the end of it, you'll have a better idea if you could use mind mapping in your work or for personal purposes. So what is mind mapping? In a nutshell, mind mapping is a personal brainstorming tool. It takes advantage of your brain's natural processing habits, and it is a thinking tool that reflects externally what is going on inside your head. Every one of us, when we generate ideas, when we solve a problem, when we are trying to deal with a project or something like that, there is a way our brain is working. Mind maps are basically putting that process that's going on inside your head on paper or on the computer screen, depending what you are using. If you are good at drawing, you don't need the software. If you prefer to use the software, then it's a computer screen. Please meet Tony Buzan. Tony Buzan is a British popular psychology author. He wrote quite a number of books on mind mapping, as you can see: Mind Map Book, Mind Map Mastery, Mind Maps for Business, Mind Maps for Kids. Also, he is writing on the subject of memory training, speed reading, and better use of our mental abilities. So as you see, he's covering quite a wide array of tasks that our brain can do for us. He's also, it's a small detail, but maybe someone wants to know it. He is a former student of British Columbia University. After 40 years of development, of research, Tony Buzan came up with this method of mind mapping. It is not a completely new concept. It's not a completely new idea. People were using this method for many, many years in the past, but it wasn't something that was a standard. It wasn't something that people used on a regular basis, and there was a methodology how to do that. Tony Buzan decided that, actually he noticed that some students have problems taking notes. What those problems are, they don't write fast enough to keep up with the lecture, and they fall in two different extremes. Either they don't take notes at all, or they take too much notes, and in the end, when they try to figure out what did they write, they don't really even understand their own notes. Tony Buzan observed that some people are not taking detailed notes. They're writing they're drawing different kind of images, pictograms, they connect them somehow with arrows and stuff like that. And he came with this concept, with this method of mind mapping. Here is an example of a mind map. I will use this introductory mind map to talk about the benefits of mind mapping. On this side, you can see what mind mapping can do for you. Mind mapping can boost your productivity, can boost your creativity, memory, and comprehension. You can use it in your personal tasks and endeavors. You can use it for your family while planning a weekend, while planning a vacation. You can use it as a student or as a teacher. Or if you're a business owner, or maybe you are working for a business and you can use it in the business. Mind mapping can also be used and is often used for generating, visualizing, structuring, and classifying ideas. As I mentioned before, the creative types mostly use it for that purpose. Also, mind mapping can be used for planning and organizing tasks on this side. You can study, take notes of information, organize information, write, and present. By the way, I was using quite a bit of mind mapping while preparing for this presentation. And last but not least, you can identify, clarify, and solve problems. All of this is can be done by mind mapping. You might ask, why do I need mind mapping? Why can't I do just writing down a list? The problem is that oftentimes writing is linear thinking. We are thinking in a specific sequence, and in the process we are missing a lot of other things that might be important for us, but we just didn't think about them at that specific moment. A mind map is a graphical note-taking tool, and it helps you figure out what exactly you missed. Because when you create these mind maps, one thought flows into the other, and then you come back, you see you missed something, you add it, and so on and so forth. Now that you've seen the benefits of the mind mapping, I would like to move on to the structure and elements of a mind map. If you'll notice throughout this presentation, all the mind maps will be basically having a similar look. What the elements of a mind map are? First of all, you start with a central image. This one is a central image. Why is it necessary? In our attempt to visualize, to have a better memorization of what we are dealing with, we create an image that helps us associate the words inside the topic that we are trying to brainstorm with the image that encompasses it. So as I said, mind mapping contains a central image and keywords. Also, elements of the mind map are pictograms. With the help of the pictograms, you can emphasize, focus the attention, your attention or someone else's attention, to a specific part of the mind map. Also, pictograms are appealing. Our brain loves pictures. In Tony Buzan's opinion, there is also a good idea to use colors. We're going to talk about that a bit later. Another element is branches. Basically, everything that you see here, I'll try to use the pointer. Okay, so on every single side, you see this is branch, this is a branch, this is a branch, and this is a branch. The only difference is the level. This is level 1 branch, this is level 2 branch, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. You can have infinite level of branches. The only problem is that you don't actually need that many, otherwise you defeat the purpose of the mind map. In Tony Buzan's opinion, the branches are supposed to be curved. Why? Because our brain perceives better curves than straight lines. And if you noticed in nature, you don't see many straight lines. Everything is wavy. Also, he insists that the branches are supposed to be connected to each other. If you see, there is no gap between the level 1, level 2, and so on and so forth. He even uses a special word for that. He uses the word emanate. So one branch emanates from the other, and so on and so forth. The last element of the mind map are the words. As you can see, on every branch, there is a word. This is also a clue. In Tony Buzan's opinion, we should use only one word per branch, because 2 words or more limit our creativity, makes us reduce the options that we are able to come up with while brainstorming or solving problems. The words are supposed to be in print, uppercase or lowercase, your choice. Has to be a single word, which is a key to that specific branch. It helps to be clear and open to continue developing your thought, your idea. So as I said, central image, branches, pictograms, words, and images if necessary for your specific mind map. Now that we are familiar with the structure and elements of a mind map, I would like to present you with the practical use of a mind map. Here you can see weekly tasks. You are planning your week. Let's say you start with Monday, which is a work day. In the morning, you start planning. Your second or other activity would be opening the incoming emails, reading them, and adjusting your plans accordingly. Afterwards, you have to go to a meeting, an agile stand-up, at which you can work with story points. You're being assigned story points, or you choose story points. Also, you can plan your tasks and prioritize them, and after that, you can start coding, which you are supposed to do as a developer. After that, you are going to lunch. You are pointing where you are going, which place, and who are going to meet there. In the afternoon, you have a meeting, and you know that it's at 2 o'clock, and you know that the meeting is about Project Alpha. Also, in the afternoon, after the meeting, you are going to code, you are going to do some unit testing, and you are going to fix some issues. All of that is included here. In the evening, you are going to have dinner, you are going to spend some time with your kids, you are going to check their problems if they have any during the day, or you are going to check their homework. Also, you can play with them or help them if they need your help. Also, after kids are going to bed, you might choose to watch a TV show. As you can see, all of this is one thought is flowing from another. As Tony Buzan put it, it's emanating. The same thing you can do for Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday might be a bit different. For example, you plan to wash your car in the morning and then check if you have enough window washer liquid. Then you might decide to go shopping for groceries, buy some shoes for your son Tom, or get a backpack for your daughter Lily. In the evening, you plan to go to your daughter's friend Sandra to a party. And Sunday, you have a completely different schedule. You decide to sleep in because you are tired from the weekend, from the day before. You are having a brunch at Egg Squeeze. You remember that you need to call your mom because during the week you might have missed it. And in the evening or in the afternoon, you are going with the whole family to watch a movie at the cinema. This is one of the practical uses of a mind map. Of course, as I said before, you can do all this on a list. This is a graphical way. If you enjoy it, you can use it. Another practical use, it's a vacation planning. All this is what I came up just thinking about a vacation. You can structure your planning completely differently. For example, I decided that I want to start with the airport. What do I need for the airport? I need to arrive. I need a taxi for that. I know the time when I should be there, and I know that I need some change for the taxi. I don't want to start playing with credit cards. Then at the airport, I have to be exactly at 12:45. After that, I know that I have to have passport with me and tickets. Also, I have to remember to divide my luggage into the carry-on and check what I'm going to check for the flight. You might also want to prepare some currency, Canadian in the airport, and foreign currency, depending if that's a different country where you are flying to. When you arrive at your destination, again, in the airport, you know that the arrival time is 5:25 p.m. And you have to consider either you are taking a shuttle or a taxi. Shuttle brings you directly to the location. With the taxi, it's a bit more complicated. You need to figure out if you need to research a specific company, because depending on the destination, some taxis are trustworthy, some are not. And again, you need to know in advance the fares so that you don't overpay. When you arrive at the resort, first thing you do, you check in. You have a phone with you just in case, if you need to call the resort to warn them about being late or something like that. You don't forget a beach towel, right? You have to have it with you when you're on a vacation. And you plan to have some fun. After that, you're planning your return. You check your passport, tickets, currency, luggage, all of them before you leave the hotel or resort. You know that you are going to leave by shuttle at 3:30. Airport, you have to be at 4 p.m. and luggage should be there too. Boarding at 5:30, arrival at your destination, home, taxi, and you're going back to work. So this is another type of usage of mind maps. When you are sitting in front of your either a sheet of paper or in front of the computer where you are using this software, the ideas start popping up in your head one after the other when you are using the graphical way. Of course, again, it depends on your personal preference. What are other potential uses of mind mapping? You can use it for shopping, for preparing your job resume if you're planning to look for another job. You can use mind maps for house renovation, planning it, website for your hobby or your business, for your next important project. And at the end, I put the mobile app, desktop software, or website development. Why did I put it at the very end? Because we are going to dive into the mind mapping for developers, how a developer might want to use it. Depending on the organization you're working at, depending on how the organization is structured and what's your level, you might not start directly with coding. Sometimes you need to do the role of a business analyst. What does it mean? It means that you have to gather the requirements. For that to happen, you need to identify the stakeholders. You need to decide who among those stakeholders is responsible, who is accountable, who is consulted, who is informed. Probably you know very well this kind of distribution. Also, you have to decide on a communication strategy. Some of them you can use, with some stakeholders you are going to use only the phone, with some you are going to use personal communication, some prefer email, and others want everything together. Also, you have to decide on the frequency, daily, weekly, monthly, depending on the stakeholder and depending on what kind of output or feedback that person wants from you. Also, you have to decide on the environment, or better say, figure it out. You have to decide what kind of OS it will be, the application will be on, what kind of databases are being used, what browser, if that's a dependency, and what are the prerequisites, what kind of libraries you are going to need, and IDE that you are going to use for your development. If you are working in an environment that is preset for you, you might not need all of that. But if you are an organization, you work in an organization that doesn't have an assigned business analyst, that might be part of your duties if you want to do a good job. Also, you might decide to have an idea about what is in scope and what is out of scope. Part of the business analyst work is to figure out what the milestones are. Scope, requirements, stories, development, testing, fixing, deployment. All of that has a specific time of delivery. And it's a good idea to have an idea when that is going to happen. And last but not least is your job as a developer to code. Are you going to use a prototype? Are you going to prepare a minimum viable product or not? Are you going to have to deal with an interface, a user interface, database interface, third party, if anyone is involved, and of course, the unit testing. It might not be very exciting to deal with all this stuff, but in case, if you are working in a company that does not have a business analyst, it's a good idea to do this kind of activity. Now let's suppose that you are a game developer and you are supposed to code a vehicle, a game object. You will have to figure out first what kind of vehicle is that. Is it a car? Is it a train? Is it a boat? Is it a plane? Is it a rocket? What exactly do you need to develop? What kind of engine or propulsion that vehicle is using? Can be steam if it's an old type game, or can be combustion, or can be a jet with air, water, depending where it is, on the water or on the land. You also have to decide on the wheels, on the windows, the body, the transmission. You are figuring this out for what purpose? These are the attributes, right? Have you ever designed a class diagram? So in a class diagram, you need to figure out what are the attributes, properties, and after that, you design the methods. You identify and design the methods. That can be a good thing for you to know too. The next one would be a more simple application. I kind of reduce the amount of information so that I don't overwhelm you, because probably some of you are already trying to think, why do I need all this for? A bank account is also an object, and it can have different kind of classes. A business is a class, personal is a class, checking, money market, certificates of deposit, savings, same thing on the other side. And also you have other attributes that belong to this bank account. All of this is part of the class bank account, and everything else is an attribute or inherited class. In the summary, I would like to go through what we discussed today. We got acquainted with the author of the modern mind mapping method. We learned the elements and structure of a mind map: central image, branches, pictograms, images, keywords, colors. We discussed a weekly task mind map. We dreamed a bit about a vacation while mind mapping. Considered a vehicle game object design. Flew over the brief bank account mind map, and we landed here. So what are the additional resources that you could follow up if you are interested in reading more about it? Tony Buzan has a list of books. You saw them in the beginning: the Mind Map book, the Mind Map Mastery, Mind Maps for Business, and Mind Maps for Kids. Ken Arthur has a book called Mind Maps: Improve Memory, Concentration, Communication. I checked the rating of this book, and it was about 3.6 out of 5. Might be interesting, might be not. It's up to you to decide if you want to try it or not. And Mind Mapping for Dummies by Florian Russler. On YouTube, you can do a search on Tony Buzan, and you'll get a lot of videos popping up. Also, there is a special channel, YouTube Mind Map. This is the software that I used for the mind maps in this presentation. What is the difference? I noticed that a lot of modern mind mapping software, they are ignoring some suggestions that Tony Buzan insists on. They are not using curved branches, and they are not using the one keyword rule, and also the colors. So depends on you how you like it. Do you necessarily need wavy lines, branches, or you're okay with the straight ones? You can go with one of these softwares. By the way, I'm not associated with any of them, so I'm not getting any profit. I like Mind Map for myself, for personal use. In the past, I tried the Mind Map Manager. It seemed pretty good for the business environment. It provides more functionality if you want to use your mind map to make it into a work breakdown structure and then put it in a Gantt chart, stuff like that. This software provides you with that functionality. Another software that I heard of but I didn't really use is the MindMeister and also the Xmind. And if you prefer to use an online mind mapping tool, which will allow to give access to your mind map to other people, is Lucidchart. I don't know if you used it. The free version allows you about 60 elements, so it's not really useful much. If you use the paid version, you should have more functionality. What do you have to do next? Give mind mapping a try. By the way, this is a very bad example of mind mapping. It's just an example of my creativity, if you like it or not. In conclusion, I would like to hear your questions if you have any. Yes, please.
What gave you on to learning about mind mapping? Do you remember what it was that caused you to search out and find mind mapping as a solution?
As I mentioned before, I had basically the same problem as Tony Buzan encountered. I have a very slow speed of writing. So when I was at the university, I had really big trouble taking notes. So I had to focus on what the teacher was saying. And if I was good enough, I wasn't too tired that day, I was remembering well. And then at night, I was going home and writing all that down. As you know, the memory rule is that during I think it's 24 hours, you are forgetting about 50 or something like that % of what you heard. And that's not very efficient. So I decided to look for a method that would help me to get a better comprehension, memory, and stuff like that. And I find that, for me personally, following the graphical rule, graphical way of expressing, it's better. If you noticed in the beginning of the presentation, I used stickers with the overview of the speech. I love that method. The problem with it is that it's difficult to organize them afterwards. So for me, actually, it's better to use a mind map than a lot of stickers. I find in one of my courses with business analysis, I took a business analysis course in Montreal at McGill. The instructors were amazing, and one of the sessions was brainstorming with stickers, with those notes. And the biggest problem was to organize those notes afterwards. This is why the mind map, for me, it's much easier, much comprehensive to just, as I mentioned before, flowing from the central idea, first level, second level. If I miss something, I just come back. I don't have to write anything. I don't have to start reformatting everything. Just follow. One of the things that I forgot to mention in the presentation is that basically all the products, all the software products, allow you to export the mind map as a list with hierarchy. So if you have level 1, level 2, level 3, everything can be structured. Just you export the list and you can import it in Excel or whatever other tool you are using. Did I answer the question? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I guess no more questions? It was a short one.